A pleasant good morning from Moody Park here in Ewing Township, New Jersey. We welcome you to a Saturday doubleheader between the Trenton Generals and the visiting Jersey Pilots here at Moody Park. Corey Miller here with you. As finishing up his warm-up pitches on the mound is Chris Sasso. He'll face Kevin Hager, the leadoff man and shortstop for the Pilots, to begin action here this morning.
Leading off for the Pilots, shortstop number 17, Kevin Hager.
Hager, the shortstop, leading things off for the second straight game for the Pilots. Sasso's ready. Hager's ready. Bucher behind the dish is ready. The first pitch is on the way, and it misses high. We're officially underway here this morning from Moody Park. It's Hager, then the second baseman, Dreyer. Tyler Stone, the center fielder, hits third, followed by Nate Miller, the third baseman for the Pilots. Hitting fifth is the catcher, Dabo. Will Finley, the first baseman, hits sixth. Batting seventh is the left fielder, Tony Silva. Robert Clawins, the DH, hits eighth, and Alex Turner rounds things out in right field for the Pilots. As it's now 1-2 on Kevin Hager, the shortstop. As we said, led off the game yesterday for this Pilots squad. 0 for 4 with a walk, hitting just 170 now on the season. Comes up empty on that hack. Good start for Chris Sasso on the mound. Leadoff man retired for the Pilots to begin play here in the first.
Second baseman, Dreyer.
And now here is Connor Dreyer, who was one of the more productive Pilots hitters in the 4-2 loss to this general squad last night. Tallied a hit and a walk, 1 for 4 in total. Same spot for him as well in the lineup, batting second, playing second base, at least in game one of this doubleheader, as it's an 0-1 pitch from Sasso. Sasso on the mound, the 6'3", 220-pound left-hander, rising sophomore at Alvernia from Jackson, New Jersey, making his sixth appearance of the summer. In 5 games, he started 2 of them. He's pitched 16 and third innings, allowed 13 hits, 7 walks, 4 earned runs. He struck out 17 and has pitched to an ERA of 2.20. He also has 1 save on the year as well. He's been effective both as a starter and as a reliever. 1-2 pitch to Dreyer, check swing. He held up, and it's now 2-2. Dreyer, as we said yesterday, has been one of the best hitters on this Pilots squad. Able to check his swing again on that 2-2 pitch. Count is now full with Tyler Stone waiting on deck. Dreyer at 294 now as he pokes that one into shallow right field. Coming on and making the catch is Andrew Cole. Dreyer is retired, 2 up, 2 down to begin the outing for Chris Sasso. We'll get a look at the rest of the Kings defense in the outfield. It's Ferry, DeClerico, and Cole moving from left to right. Along the infield, Dorn, Patrizzi, Treisman, McNelly. That's from third to first. And Brandon Bucher does the catching for Chris Sasso here in game 1 of the doubleheader, which brings up Tyler Stone, the center fielder, hitting third. Now, as we talked about Stone last night, he was actually the Pilots starting pitcher in the loss. He pitched 4 2/3 innings, didn't allow any earned runs, ultimately took the loss as he tops that one to third. Dorn gets the high hop, fires across in plenty of time to nab Stone and retire the side. Good start for Chris Sasso, 3 up and 3 down. The Generals coming to bat after a scoreless top half of the first.
Leading off for the Generals, center fielder, number 2, Jake Ziclarico.
Jake DeClarico, the leadoff man for the Generals, steps into the box to begin the bottom half of the first. Scoreless game so far. First ABs for the Generals. DeClarico shows bunt, gets it down, but rolls it foul down the third baseline. Flush to the lineup behind him. Brandon Bucher waits on deck, the catcher, followed by Reeder, the DH. Cleaning up and playing second base is Jeremy Cheeseman. Aidan McNally, the first baseman, hits fifth. Mike Dorn at third base hits sixth. Batting seventh is the right fielder, Andrew Cole. Don Patrizzi, the shortstop, hits eighth. And Nick Ferry, the left fielder, hits ninth, rounding out the starting nine for the Generals. As it's now 0-2 on DeClarico. That lineup will be facing Derek Benzinger, the right-hander on the mound for the Pilots, as far as we can tell, making his first appearance of the season. No statistics to his name at this point in the summer. And the count 0-2 on Jake DeClarico, though, who has been elevated to the leadoff spot. He's kind of been hitting all over the lineup as of late. Hitting in the middle part of the order the past few games, as he's been one of the hotter Generals hitters. He was 1 for 2 last night in the 4-2 win. Also walked twice and scored a run. The average elevated for him up to 271. Comes up empty on that pitch, swings and misses to begin the Generals half of the first inning. One away now for Brandon Bucher.
Number 12, the catcher, Brendan Bucher.
Bucher getting the start behind the plate in game one of the doubleheader. This is his 10th game of the season. Him and the catcher Murphy have not seen as many appearances as Reeder behind the plate, but as we've talked about, Murphy and Bucher have been great when we've seen them, but the average for them has dropped off a little bit, to be expected, especially considering how hot bats they were swinging to begin the season. They still technically are the two leaders in average for the Generals, Murphy at 429, Bucher entering play at 400, but it has dropped off significantly, and again, they haven't played as many games as most of the guys on the roster. This is just the 10th game, double digits for Bucher. Overall, 8 hits and 20 at-bats. He scored 2 runs, 3 doubles, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts. He's driven in 4, again hitting at 400 entering play. And he's ahead in the count, 3-1. The guy who hit .394 his senior year of high school, hit 3 homers, 27 RBIs, and a career 400 hitter across his 4-year high school career. First team all-conference. Comes up empty on the 3-1 swing. Now it's a full count. Not only was Bucher first team all-conference, but it was all-county and all-state. Guy who's heading to Monmouth University in the fall from Allentown, New Jersey. Full count pitch with 1 away. Grounded up the middle. Hager ranges up and fires across in time to retire Bucher. 2 up, 2 down to begin the bottom half for the first, and it's now Chris Reeder with 2 away.
17, the DH, Chris Reeder.
Reeder slides from behind the dish to the DH spot for game 1. After starting and hitting third behind the plate last night. 0 for 1, but that was also because he walked once and was hit by a pitch twice. Also drove in a run on a sac fly and later scored a run as well. So another productive day at the dish for the Generals catcher, who's hitting .352 now, 2 homers, 8 RBIs. He scored 13 times as well. That pitch is lined softly into left field over the head of Miller. Reeder will hold up at first. He's on with a 2-out base hit. Keeps the inning alive for Jeremy Cheeseman. Reeder continues to hit in the middle of the Generals order, which brings up Cheeseman. We saw Cheeseman come into the game as a pinch hitter last night. One at-bat was 0 for 1, but actually as a two-way player, he's been one of the Generals' better hitters. Again, not a ton of games as a hitter. Only 8, but he's hitting .316. It's 0-1 on him. Was about to say that the stat that really jumps out with Reeder, a lot of them, but he's actually been hit by a pitch 9 times this summer. 9 hit by pitches. Reeder happy there to get a base hit. Was hit by a pitch twice last night, as that one's in the dirt to Cheeseman. Rising sophomore at FDU. Throw over to first, and Reeder's back in. He's 6 for 19 at the dish. A homer and 5 RBIs is Jeremy Cheeseman. Again, he's a pitcher, though, for FDU. As he gets under that one, lifts a fly ball into right field. Turner comes jogging in. He won't get there. It lands in front of him for a base hit, as moving from first to third is Chris Reeder. It was clear early on that Cheeseman did not get a ton of that ball, but thought for sure would hang up for Turner in right field. Had to come a long way in, but that ball just not hit hard enough, falls in front of him, and now, just like that, the Generals have runners on the corners with 2 away for one of their hotter hitters in Aiden McNelly. McNelly swings at the first pitch and pops it out of play. Despite his hot hitting, McNelly was 0 for 4 last night, struck out once and walked once. Hit second last night, now 5th in the middle of the order as the Generals look for a early run here in the first inning after 2 straight 2-out base hits. Cheeseman takes off for second. The pitch is off the glove of Dabo. Here comes Reeder for the plate. He will score. So Cheeseman swipes second. He was headed there anyways. And then coming across to score on what will be ruled a pass ball on Dabo is Chris Reeder. And just like that, the Generals grab a 1-0 lead. McNelly flies one into right center field. Outfielders converging, and a nice job by Stone to run that one down and bring an end to the first inning. But not before the Generals strike first. They get a run on the pass ball and 2 hits. They lead 1-0 over the Pilots as we move ahead to inning number 2. Third baseman Nate Miller leads things off for the Pilots as we begin inning number 2. Now a 1-0 Generals lead. After the pass ball on Dabo behind the plate, plated Chris Reeder from third. There were 3 pitches in that inning in which they got by Dabo. That one the pass ball, as it was a catchable ball on the inside part of the plate. And coming back to bite the Pilots. Hard hit to third. Doran spins, throws low. Dug out by McNelly at first. Good play on both ends. And Miller's retired to begin the second. And now here is the catcher Ethan Dabo with no one on and 1 away here in the top of the second. 4 up and 4 down for Sasso, the lefty, facing the lefty Dabo to begin his day on the mound. That breaking pitch is in there for a called strike one. Dabo hit third last night, no hits, but he walked 3 times. Scored a run in the 4-2 loss for the Pilots. A grounder to the right side, under the sliding attempt of Cheeseman and into right field. So just like that, the Pilots get a base runner on their first hit of the morning, and there's one on with one away for Finley.
Number 21, first baseman Will Finley.
Here's the first baseman Finley, who slides over from DH to first base. Guy who can play multiple positions for the Pilots. Would love to get him going at just 200. With plenty of experience at the D1 level. Has never really been a tremendous hitter for Fordham, but has been consistent for them at a multitude of positions and has gotten a lot of at-bats over his past few years there. Dabo leads off at first with one away. Sasso's pitch, and Finley golfs it foul. The 4-2 win for the Generals last night improved their record to 14-7-1, a total of 51 points. That record good for first place in the Wolf division. For the Pilots, it moved them down to 7-13, 34 points in the division. The Generals, as we said, sit atop the Wolf division, determined by points. 51, 3 points ahead of the Metros and the Kings, who both have 48. Finley skies this one behind the plate in foul territory. Bucher will run out of room, and it's out of play. We'll look at the standings again. The Generals on top, but now the Metros, who've been hot lately, tied with the Kings with 48 points. So they're tied for second. Both of those teams breathing down the Generals' neck. So what was originally a comfortable spot for the Generals atop the Wolf division earlier in the season, after that tough stretch, which they were 2-6-1 in their last 10 entering last night, a much closer picture atop the Wolf division. With 2-2, Finley blasts that one into left field. Ferry hustling back, looking up, and it's gone. Will Finley getting a hold of that one, a 2-run shot, and just like that, it's now a 2-1 Pilots lead.
Number 4, left fielder Tony Silva.
A welcome sight for the Pilots, who, as we said, would love to get Finley going, especially as one of their most tenured college players with Division I experience. And as we kind of alluded to last night, that's been the problem for them offensively, is that a lot of their key guys have just not produced with the bat. Kevin Hager, another one of them, who will be at Cornell in the fall, as it's now Tony Silva, the left fielder. But when now you only have one hitter above 300 on the season, and that's Tyler Stone after Dreyer was 1 for 4 last night. He's at 294 entering play here today. You just have one hitter over 300, you're not going to win a ton of games. 1-2 pitch is grounded right to Patrizzi, who gobbles it up, fires across in time to nab Silva, and there's 2 away. And the other thing with the averages for the Pilots is that it's a big drop-off. So not only are a bunch of the players not hitting above 300, but a good chunk of them are hitting below 200. That includes Hager, who at 170 is the Pilots' leadoff man. But they entrust him because he's such a talented player. They need him to get going, and he's still going to continue to get at-bats at the top of the order. Liam Horton, another one who hit cleanup last night, but he's hitting just 154 in the season. So Finley, one of those big names who, if he can get him going, it would be great for the Pilots. They jump out in front here in the top of the second as Clowens is set down on strikes. Strong finish for Sasso, but not before 2 runs come to the plate for the Pilots. They jump out in front 2-1 after the 2-run shot by Will Finley. Generals now coming to bat, trailing for the first time here today. Mike Dorn begins the bottom half of the second as the Generals now trail 2-1 after the two-run homer by Will Finley in the top half of the inning. That home run for Finley, as the first pitch to Dorn is cut on a miss, was his first home run of the summer. A base hit last night in 4 plate appearances got him to 200, now hitting above the 200 mark. And that was also his 3rd RBI of the summer. Hard to believe he'd only driven in 1 run prior to that. But again, a good sign for the Pilots as it's 0-2 to Dorn, now 1-2. As we said, last night's game resulting in a 4-2 Generals win over the Pilots. A 4-run 5th inning for Trenton gave them a 4-0 lead after 4 consecutive innings of zeros. And the big name for the Generals yesterday was Tristan Spalter on the mound. As Doran slaps that one into left field, it drops in front of Silva for a leadoff base hit. Good start for the Generals as they look to get that run back and even things up at 2. As now here is Andrew Cole, the right fielder. After getting 1 at-bat last night and not reaching, Cole's hitting .250, 10 hits and 40 at-bats, 6 runs, 3 doubles, and 6 RBIs for the Lehigh product. Hardly ever strikes out, just 4 of them this summer. He's also walked 6 times, so the plate discipline has been there, but still looking for some base hits, especially some extra base hits, as he takes a called strike 1. As we said, Spalter turned in another terrific outing for the Generals last night. He's been one of their best pitchers, one of the best pitchers in the league this summer, but 6 shutout innings for him last night. Picked up the win, but after Spalter departed, that's where things started to get a little rough for the Generals. Doran dives back. It began with Muller taking over as the reliever. He appeared, walked 3 guys, allowed 2 hits, and ultimately allowed 2 runs. That was in the 7th inning. As it's now 2-2 on Cole. That made it a 4-2 game, and then Landon Friedman came in the 8th inning. Ultimately got the save as he pitched 2 scoreless innings, but that was not without some trouble along the way. As Doran waits on a 2-2 pitch here from Benzinger. That's on the outside corner for a called strike 3. Cole down looking. First batter retired for Benzinger here in the bottom of the second. Friedman pitched 2 innings. He walked 3 guys, allowed 2 hits. Faced traffic on the base pass both in the 8th and the 9th inning, and multiple times it looked like the Pilots might even this game up at 4. It would be another instance in which the Generals blew a late-game lead. But Friedman was able to right the ship and finish things off, tally the save, and give the Generals their 14th win of the season. Patrizi in that win last night didn't get any hits as he got the start at shortstop. 0 for 2 with an RBI and a strikeout. He's now hitting just .206, and that is hard to believe after, as we said last night, the incredibly hot start he was on to begin the summer. Getting the start at shortstop here in Game 1, 7-inning doubleheader. Ferry on deck to round out the starting 9 for the Generals after the leadoff base hit by Dorn, then the strikeout of Cole. Here is Benzinger's 1-2 pitch. In on the hands of Patrizi, who lifts a weak pop-up to the third baseman Miller, who makes the catch in foul territory, and there are now 2 away.
Number 14, left fielder Nick Ferry.
Ferry, the left fielder, pinch hit for Timmy Wright in the game yesterday. 0 for 1 with a walk in 2 plate appearances for the lefty, who's hitting just .103 after the hitless outing last night. He's really just been hitting at the bottom of the order as he's been struggling throughout the summer. He slaps that one into right field. That's down for a base hit. Doran hustling to third. He's going to get there easily. A line drive base hit for Nick Ferry. And now the Generals have runners on the corners with 2 away.
Number 2, center fielder Jake DeClarico.
A welcome sight from Nick Ferry. One of the hardest balls he's hit all summer. A rope out to right field, and good to see him connecting for a hard-hit base hit. And it keeps the inning alive for DeClarico, the leadoff man who struck out swinging back in the first. One of the Generals' hottest hitters. Ferry takes off for second. He stumbled as the throw comes down. Here comes Doran for the plate. He will score, as having a tough time fielding that one cleanly is Connor Dreyer. An unconventional way for the Generals to get their second run, but they'll take it as Ferry's now safe at second. 2 stolen bases for the Generals. Another tough break for Didabo behind the plate, as it wasn't a particularly good throw to begin with. A good throw would have nabbed Ferry at second, because as he began running down, he stumbled, almost fell over. And so if Didabo had even gotten that throw remotely to the second base bag on time and accurately, Ferry would have been out as he takes off for third, and he can pull up easily as that pitch sails to the backstop. So now he's 90 feet away as it's a 3-0 count on Jake DeClarico. So Doran coming around to score the Generals' second run. They've now tied the game up at 2. And DeClarico a chance to give him the lead. Waits on a 3-0 pitch from Benzinger. That one misses high, and it is a 2-out walk of DeClarico. Puts runners on the corners for Brandon Bucher. Grounded out his first time up.
The catcher, Brendan Bucher.
Bucher looking for his 5th RBI of the summer. And a chance to give the Generals the lead back. DeClarico runs for second. The pitch is a called strike. The throw down. They have DeClarico in a rundown. Dreyer keeping his eye on Ferry. He's now going to run at him down the third baseline. We'll flip it back to the third baseman, Miller, as diving back safely is Nick Ferry. In all that, DeClarico is eventually able to get down to second. So somehow the Pilots don't get a single out of all that, and now there's 2 runners in scoring position. The Generals had just run the same play with Doran on at third and Ferry on at first. That one worked out. The Generals don't score a run out of this, but the fact that out of 2 rundowns, the Pilots don't get a single out, the Generals will take it. And it's an 0-2 count now to Bucher, the pitch. He lifts it foul out of play. Chance for Bucher to give them at least a 1-run lead. One of their best hitters this summer, 0 for 1, but hitting above 400. 70 RBI throughout his high school career. Waits on another 0-2 and cuts and misses. Big strikeout for Benzinger, but not before the Generals tie the game up. Some base hits and some base running. Bring in the second run of the game for the Generals. We're tied up at 2 as we move ahead to the top of the third. Chris Sasso back to work here in now the top of the third. Faces Alex Turner, the ninth hitter for the Pilots for the first time. Game now tied up at 2 as the Generals struck back for 1 in the second, thanks to 2 base hits and some good work on the base pass. And it's been good to see that the Generals are getting hits. They now have 4 through 2 innings, which is good because they only tallied 2 through 9 innings despite plating 4 runs last night, as it is 2-2 on Turner. 1-2, that is. But it's good to see that the Generals are getting base hits because it leads us to the point of that as of late they've won 2 straight against these Pilots teams, but they've been given a lot of runs in the sense that the runs last night especially, as Turner cuts and misses, Sasso strikes him out to begin the top of the third. A lot of the runs the Generals have been scoring, they've been given in the sense that the Pilots yesterday hit a lot of batters. That one bad inning from Stone as it's back to the top of the order in Hager right here. 0 for 1 with a strikeout to begin the game in the first. Check swing on an inside pitch, and it's 0-1. 2 errors in that big 5th inning on the Pilot side when the Generals played at 4 last night. Again, none of those runs in the 4th inning were charged to Tyler Stone on the mound. So in a game in which the Generals scored 4 runs but only 2 hits, they were given a bunch of those runs by miscues on the mound and defensively by the Pilots. Another pitch inside, this time misses the bat of Hager, but he checks his swing and it's 1-1. And the Generals certainly getting hits in that 2nd inning, which led to a run. And they were using that double steal to plate a run, but also given runs in that inning in the sense that the Pilots really should have been able to handle that on the stolen base, as we said, by Ferry. A good throw would have gotten him by Didabo because Ferry stumbled as he took off for second. A poor throw eventually allowed Doran to come around and score from third. You have to remember that the Generals scored their first run of the game after a pass ball on Didabo. As it's now 2-2 on Kevin Hager. Sasso delivers. Here's a grounder to third. Doran's been busy so far and completes that play as well. 2 up, 2 down here in the third. The 3rd assist of the game for Mike Doran so far.
Number 1, second baseman.
Here's Dreyer, who flew out to right his last time up. The difference, though, between last night and today is that last night, as Dreyer squares to bunt, pulls back, and takes a ball. The difference between last night and tonight is that the Generals got their base runners thanks to miscues either on the mound or defensively for the Pilots. So far today, their base runners have come via base hits and then have subsequently scored via those miscues. Reeder and Cheeseman with base hits in the first, and then Ferry and Dorn with base hits in the second. As it is 3-0 on Connor Dreyer. Now 3-1. Sasso, aside for that home run ball, he's allowed 2 hits. Dabo singled in the second, then Finley at that homer. He's looked sharp. Count now full on Connor Dreyer. Sasso looking for a 1-2-3 inning as Dreyer steps out and asks for time. That pitch is way high, so a 2-out walk of Connor Dreyer brings up Tyler Stone with 1 on and 2 away. Sasso, the lefty, on the mound as Stone grounded out back in the first. Pitched for the Allentown American Legion baseball team last summer. Allentown winning their first NJAL state crown. An important starter for the Generals, especially down the stretch. Starting pitching has been solid for them all summer long, as it's quickly 0-2 on Stone. But another reliable guy is kind of your third starter in addition to St. John and Spalter, both of whom have been terrific. We'll see St. John in game 2. 0-2 pitch to Stone. Now 1-2. But a really good third consistent starter. Even in Sasso's case, a guy who can throw solid shutdown innings and multiple innings out of the bullpen would be welcome for the Generals. He throws over and runs Dreyer back to first. Trying to retire Stone. 1-2 pitch with 2 away. As we said, Stone, one of the better hitters for, or I should say the best hitter for the Pilots. 377 for him, by far the best. Next closest is Dreyer, 294. Stone gets a piece of that one into left center field. Coming on and making the grab is Jake DeClerico to retire Stone and the side here in the top of the third. 2-out base runner for the Pilots, but nothing more, as a good bounce back inning for Sasso. He retires the Pilots and gives his team a chance to take the lead as we move to the bottom of the third.
After 2.5, the Generals 2, the Pilots 2.
Wow, a guy who is on the roster. Luis Rivera. Who would have thought? Yeah, sure.
2 innings pitched, 42 pitches, 4 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts.
Thank you. Is Barry D3, Mike? Is Barry D3? 2? Gotcha.
Leading off for the Generals, the DH, number 17.
New pitcher for
And now pitching for
the Pilots as we begin the bottom half of the third. Replacing Derek Benzinger is Luis Rivera. 5'9", 160-pound right-hander from Wayne, New Jersey, and rising sophomore at Barry University. Faces Chris Reeder for the first time, who singled and later scored the first run of the game in the first.
Were you to the right age when they won 10, 12, and 14? That was a hell of a run.
Rivera is 1-2 in 8 games. He started 2, so he's appeared as both a reliever and a starter. Has pitched 23 1/3 innings, allowed 15 hits, 21 walks. He struck out 27 and allowed 9 earned runs, a 3.47 ERA for him. He has 1 save as well. Replaces Benzinger, who went 2 innings after throwing 42 pitches. Allowed 4 hits, a walk, struck out 3. One of those 2 runs he allowed is earned. Just 2 innings for Benzinger, the starter. And now it's a 2-1 pitch to Chris Reeder. Bloops that one into center field. Stone moving across and making the grab for out number 1. Again, Rivera at Barry University, D2 school.
Number 8, second baseman Jeremy Cheeseman.
Made it to the Super Regionals of Division II level, eventually lost to Rollins. So a good year for Rivera and Barry University. Here's Cheeseman, who singled and stole a bag in the first inning. Rivera last pitched on the 1st, 7 days ago. Took the loss, but he was terrific against the Ospreys. Pitched 5 innings, allowed just 1 hit, 2 walks, and 1 earned run. The problem for him was that the Pilots didn't score any runs and lost to the Ospreys, who are currently 6-15. A game and a half worse than the Pilots in terms of records, 1 point behind them in the ACBL standings. Pilots are 6th, Ospreys are 7th. Cheeseman waits on a 1-1 and pokes it foul. Interesting to see that Benzinger went just 2 innings. We talked about when we've seen the Pilots here at Moody Park how they rely on their starters to go deep into games because they have very few designated pitchers. Rivera is one of them, but Benzinger, a new addition, possibly not wanting to overthrow him. 42 pitches, don't want him to go too long. Rivera thought he had strike 3. Instead, it's a ball to Cheeseman, and now it's 2-2. As we've said many times, Pilots rely on those two-way guys, especially the hitters, to pitch. Rivera, though, the designated pitcher, and firing on 2-2. Cheeseman rolls it to the right side. That'll get through into right field, and Jeremy Cheeseman collects his second base hit of the morning.
Number 5, first base.
Brings up McNelly. Well, as we said, Cheeseman's more of a pitcher at FDU, but if he's going to continue to hit for the Generals, especially as they have been a little bit colder at the dish as of late, he's probably going to get more reps as a hitter than as a pitcher because the Generals have plenty of pitchers who've been throwing pretty well. Especially since when Cheeseman has pitched, it's been as a starter, and that's where the Generals have been terrific, is with their starting pitching. The bullpen not as much so, especially as of late, but glad to see Cheeseman, one of the few two-way players the Generals use, has been so terrific, especially with the bat. Not sure what you would be getting with him as a bat, especially since he's primarily a pitcher at a Division I school. Big lead for him as he dances off of first. A high chopper behind the mound. Rivera gloves it, spins, throws to first in time. Nice play by Rivera as Cheeseman makes his way down to second. So he moves up 90 feet, and he's in scoring position now for Mike Dorn, who singled and later scored a run back in the second. Generals looking to retake the lead here in the bottom of the third. Dorn at just 189. 7 hits and 37 at-bats, a double and 4 RBIs for him. But it does seem like he's getting more confidence with the bat and with the glove the past few weeks. He's been busy at third base defensively so far today, and he's fielded the position very well after a few errors in the early going this summer. Behind in the count 0-2 with 2 away. Cheeseman leads off of second. Dorn looking for a 2-out RBI. Lays off of that pitch as Didabo can't glove it cleanly. Another instance of a pitch making its way to the backstop. And now Cheeseman is 90 feet away. 1-2 now to Mike Dorn. Pitch from Rivera. They're going to say that Dorn went around. Didabo will jokingly tag him out. Dorn set down on strike, so the Generals can't do anything after the 1-out base hit by Cheeseman. He's stranded at third, so now the 4th inning upcoming. We're still tied up at 2.
Nate Miller.
Nate Miller, the cleanup hitter, leads things off for the Pilots, facing Sasso, who's back out there for his fourth inning of work. That one nearly getting a piece of Miller, and it's 1-0. We talked about yesterday how Miller is a versatile guy, can play many different positions, did that throughout his high school career. Miller playing right field yesterday, moves all the way over to third base here today. 3-0 pitch to him. A grounder to third where Doran scoops it up and makes the throw to first. Good job by McNelly to dig it out. Another assist for Doran, another out for Sasso, and there is one away in the fourth.
Number 5, catcher Ethan Dadabo.
Now it's the catcher Dadabo who singled and later scored a run on the homer by Will Finley in the second. Finley waits on deck as Dadabo digs into the box. Dadabo, 220 entering plays, walked 15 times, struck out 14 times. Sasso continues to throw well through now 3 1/3 innings. Dadabo's hit in the second, one of just 2 allowed for the lefty. Followed up by the homer by Finley. Only 2 runs so far for the Pots. Tied up at 2 here at Moody Park. Top of the fourth. Corey Miller here with you. Game 1 of a doubleheader between these two squads. Will be followed up by a Kings Phenoms doubleheader later on today. Dadabo gets under that one, pops it up. Sasso fighting the sun will yield to Dorn, who makes the catch. Dorn with the putout has 4 assists, so he's been busy over at the hot corner today, and there's 2 away, no one on for Will Finley.
Number 21, first baseman Will Finley.
Finley originally from Roxbury High School, transferring to Notre Dame, bounces that one to Patrizzi. The high hop eats him up. A tough play for the shortstop. They'll give Finley a base hit. A tough hop for Patrizzi at short. So Finley's now 2 for 2. Third hit of the game for the Pilots, and they have a 2-out base runner now for Tony Silva.
Number 4, left fielder.
Sasso trying to fire his 4th inning. He's a guy where you wonder where he fits in down the stretch for the Generals. Is he going to be a starter for them? Long reliever, combination of both. That's what we've seen from him so far this summer. But a period where the Generals evaluating all their players and getting a sense of who they can rely on the last few weeks of the season and heading into the playoffs. Especially with their pitchers. Big swing and a miss there from Silva, and it's now 0-2. The season's been any indication, the top 2 starter spots will be occupied by St. John and Spalter, especially the way they've pitched. Spalter with the shutout yesterday, but you never know who you could need. And again, we've seen Sasso out of the bullpen where he's picked up a save and a long relief effort. So you can use him kind of wherever you need to. 1-2 here to Silva, way high and outside. Now 2-2. Generals do have action in the bullpen. That's Evan Wood warming up. Was going to come in all along for the Generals. It's just a question of when. 2-2 pitch now, and Silva lays off. Full count with 2 away, so Finley will be off with the pitch. We'll see how much longer Mike Coryell sticks with Sasso, but 4 innings of 2-run ball is something the Generals will take. Trying to retire Silva, though, on a 3-2 pitch with 2 away. That pitch is skied into left field. Ferry will backpedal and make the catch to retire the side here in the 4th. 2-out base hit, but nothing more for the Pilots. We remain tied up at 2 here at Moody Park. Generals coming to bat in the bottom half of the 4th. And Drew Cole leads it off for the Generals in the 4th, facing Luis Rivera out for his 2nd inning of work after replacing Benzinger on the mound. Cole, Patrizzi, Ferry, 7-8-9 for the Generals here in the 4th 2-2 game here at Moody Park. The first game of the doubleheader between these two squads. 4th of 7 innings. Generals looking for their first lead since the first inning. Cole is 0 for 1 with the strikeout, and it's now 0-1 on him. It was interesting to see when the Generals have struggled to score some runs over this past stretch of games, whether or not we would see Cole elevated in the lineup as a guy with a lot of skill and experience at Lehigh. He's been more consistent the past few weeks, but hasn't just gotten enough hits for the Generals to move him up in the order. He swings and misses at that pitch, which was way outside. The throw down to first, though, is over the head of Finley into right field. So a strikeout, and Cole will reach on the throwing error by Dadabo, who has had a rough game so far behind the plate. A pass ball allowed a run to score in the first. And then some difficulties with the double steals the Generals pulled in the second. The Generals will take it. They have a leadoff base runner for Patrizzi. Taps it right back to Rivera. They get the out at second, back to first. In time, a double play. Generals getting a gift, but then giving it right back to the Pilots on the double play by Patrizzi.
Number 14, left fielder Nick Ferry.
So now there's no one on with 2 away, and it's Nick Ferry. In his only trip to the plate, he had a line drive base hit into right. Waits on the pitch from Rivera. 1-0 is slapped into left field. That will drop for a base hit, and Nick Ferry is 2 for 2. And Nick Ferry continues his hot game at the dish.
number 2, center fielder, Jake DeClerico.
And he was a guy who really had been getting under the ball throughout the season. Good to see him square those balls up and spray him to different parts of the ballpark. The bat the Generals would love to get going, especially as a lefty at the bottom of the order. DeClerico swings at the first pitch, pops it up into right field. Could be trouble. That one is down. It's a fair ball in front of Turner and right. Moving all the way to third is Ferry, and DeClerico has a 2-out base hit. Right off the bat, you knew that could be trouble because it was kind of a long run for everyone and in between everyone. Now the Pilots manager talking things over with the home plate umpire. That ball was definitely fair. Perhaps that's the contention. At least from up here. At least by a foot or two. Looks like everything is settled, though. So it's a first and third situation for the Generals. A shame about the double play because Cole probably could have scored on that last hitter eventually. Reached on the strikeout, then the air by Dad with the double play, then 2 straight singles. Brings up Brandon Bucher, who's 0 for 2. Manager Mike Coryell told a funny story about him and Bucher before the game today, as Bucher fouls that first pitch straight back. Coach Coryell is a member of the Trenton Softball Hall of Fame, where Bucher was being honored earlier in the year with a $4,000 scholarship. And at the dinner, Coryell went up to Bucher as the runner takes off for second. The pitch is a called strike, dropped by Didabo. So reaching to second is DeClerico. It's now 0-2 on Bucher. But Mike Coryell went up to Brandon Bucher and said, "Hey, what are you doing this summer? Where are you playing?" And Bucher said that, he was playing for a team called the Trenton Generals, not realizing that the guy he was talking to was the manager of the team. As Bucher waits on the 0-2 pitch, misses inside, 1-2. Not realizing that Mike Coryell was the manager of the team, and Coryell responded that, "I hear the manager of that team is a really great guy." And a little while later, after they were done talking, Bucher realized that Coryell was the manager of the team, and he went up to Mike Coryell and apologized. So those two had a chuckle at that. Would love a base hit from him here. It's a 1-2 pitch to Bucher with 2 in scoring position. Now make it 2-2 as that one from Rivera misses outside. A guy who Mike Coryell described as an old school kid behind the plate, the catcher. With 2 in scoring position, Brandon Bucher takes high. The count is now full, and Chris Reeder waiting on deck. After 2 2-out singles, it's 3-2, 2 away. 2 runners in scoring position for Brandon Bucher. A weak bouncer off of his foot, and it remains 3-2. Ferry at third, DeClerico at second, and Bucher at the dish. Another full count pitch on the way. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Big time strikeout for Rivera to bring an end to the bottom of the 4th. The Generals threatened 2 base hits with 2 away. Get him into scoring position, but then the big strikeout of Bucher leaves them there. We move ahead to the 5th inning. We're still tied up at 2.
The DH, number 12, Robert Clowens.
Here is Clowens to lead off the top of the fifth. Sasso back on the mound. Clowens shows bunt and comes up empty on the attempt. Generals will try to get another inning out of Sasso before it looks like Evan Wood will take over on the mound, which makes sense given how Wood has yet to pitch at all this summer. He'll be throwing at a limited pitch count, but certainly doable if he can pitch the last 2 innings. Swing and a miss, and it's now 1-2. Speaking of pitch count, Sasso hitting his 65th pitch. Here in the top of the fifth, Clowens is 0 for 1, struck out back in the second. Aside from that second inning, it's been fairly easy sledding for Sasso. 2 runs for the Pods coming in that inning. Swing and a miss. Clowens down swinging for the second time today. 1 away to begin the fifth.
Number 22, right fielder, Alex Turner.
Alex Turner also struck out swinging back in the third inning. Evan Wood, who we'll likely see next, the right-hander, is part of a few new additions to the pitching staff for the Generals. Jesse Spector, another one we might see in game number 2. So 2 new arms for the Generals. Wood was originally on the roster, but it'll be the first time we'll see him this summer. 2-1 after the big hack from Alex Turner. 2 arms who could solidify the bullpen for the Generals, which has struggled a bit as of late. Turner working the count to 3-1. Top of the order, Kevin Hager waiting on deck. As the Pilots look to grab the lead, these 2 teams scoreless since the second inning. We play here in the top of the fifth. 3-1 pitch. Yields a pop fly foul from Alex Turner. Pilots have utilized 2 pitchers. Sasso, the only one so far for the Generals, has continued the strong stretch of starting pitching for the Generals as of late. Walks Turner here, so a base runner with 1 away for the Pilots.
Number 17.
Back to the top of the order, and Kevin Hager, the shortstop. 0 for 2 so far today. We've only seen Hager at shortstop here with the Pilots when he's played. Squares to bunt and bunts it straight back to the backstop. But Hager can play both second base and third base in addition to shortstop. See if he makes any appearances this coming spring for Cornell. Looking to get his bat going are the Pilots after a slow summer for him. Doran in guarding against the bunt. Hager will swing away on 1-1 and take a pitch inside. Now 2-1. Hitless so far this series. 0 for 6 is Kevin Hager. Flies that one into center field. DeClerico will yield to Cole, who comes all the way over to make the catch. Out number 2 for Chris Sasso here in the fifth. It brings up Dreyer, who walked in his last plate appearance in the third.
Dreyer.
2 D1 players at the top of the order for the Pilots. Dreyer at Boston College. As we said about Dreyer when the Kings played the Pods, is that Dreyer actually took over the starting shortstop role at his high school for Anthony Volpe. And then it was Kevin Hager taking over for Dreyer. So 3 consecutive pretty good shortstops. Volpe with the New York Yankees obviously now. Dreyer at Boston College. Hager will be at Cornell in the fall. A high pop up into shallow right field. Jeremy Cheeseman locates it and makes the catch for out number 3. Chris Sasso dominant on the mound here today. Aside from the 2-run homer, he's been great. Now through 5 innings of 2-run ball, the Generals looking to take the lead. We move ahead to the last of the 5th.
The Pilots 2. Leading off for the Generals.
Chris Reeder begins the bottom of the 5th. Generals could use a rally as they look to bring across a run for the first time since the 2nd and take their first lead since the bottom of the 1st. Reeder has singled and flown out in 2 trips to the plate, facing Rivera, who's out there for his 3rd inning of work out of the bullpen. Reeder improving on that .352 average with his first inning base hit. And as good as a hitter that he is and has been, not only for the ACBL when he's played, but also at TCNJ. Crazy thing is that this is actually the best he's ever hit at .352. .269 at TCNJ, his most recent campaign. .272 as a junior. Swing and a miss, and it's now 1-2 on him. Hit .320 last summer for the Generals, but again up over .350 here, and it's been terrific and great for the Generals that he has not slumped really at any point in this season, as the lineup has had a cold spell. Reeder's been a consistent force in the heart of the order. Lineup has started to get things going again after tough sledding. It looks like, if the past 2 games are any indication. 2-2 pitch here. Hard hit to third and past Miller into left field. Reeder with the big turn. He's going to try and stretch it into a double. The throw down to second is not in time. Terrific job by Chris Reeder. It looked like Miller got a piece of that ball with his glove, which slowed it down into left field. Reeder recognizing that and making it into second. And that ball was just scorched by Reeder, so he's going to get a double. And that's a situation where guys of any age can do that, but his experience, Reeder, and baseball smart, stretching that into a double. That one is off of the glove at Finley to first. Reeder gets to third, and Cheeseman is going to reach. That one will be in air as it wasn't hit particularly hard. Charge to Finley, so now Cheeseman reaches for the 3rd time today. And just like that, the Generals have runners on the corners and no one out for McNelly. Well, Reeder was going to get to third no matter what, as it was hit to the right side, but Finley unable to glove it cleanly. Allows Cheeseman to reach. Big spot here for McNelly. A chance for the Generals to take the lead. McNelly's 0 for 2 today. Big RBI chance for the Generals' first baseman. Works the count to 2-0. Two-zero count, and Rivera looks both base runners back. Generals hoping to sweep the Pilots as it looks like Rivera's being called for the balk. Look at that. Luis Rivera called for the balk. It forces in a run, and the Generals take a 3-2 lead. Could be something where if Rivera makes the move to third, he actually then has to follow through and throw over, which he never did. Pilots manager contesting it, as now Reeder scores, and the Generals have a 3-2 lead here in the fifth. It moves Cheeseman into scoring position at second. And the count remains 2-0 on McNelly. He grounds that one to second. Dreyer is right there. Will throw to first in time. Cheeseman moves up to third. So a productive out from McNelly. And now it is Cheeseman at third for Mike Doran.
Number 28, third baseman, Mike Doran.
Doran has singled, scored a run, and struck out. Pilots bring the infield in, now down by one with one away here in the fifth. A double, an error, and a balk have led to a run for the Generals here in the fifth. They've retaken the lead at 3-2. They look to sweep this Pilots team here today if they can win both games of the doubleheader. After wins on Monday. And then last night, 0-2 to Doran. Lays off, and now it's 1-2. Luis Rivera deals on 1-2, and Doran's able to fight it off and stay alive. Probably see a plethora of new players in the field for the Generals in Game 2. But this starting lineup in Game 1's turned out 3 runs, and they've gotten a good amount of base runners. They have 8 hits so far. Mike Doran on 1-2. Pops it up. Finley towards the line, makes the catch, able to avoid Doran. A big out number 2 as Cheeseman can't go anywhere at third.
Number 7, right fielder, Andrew Cole.
And this is what has killed the Generals. I mean, they have the lead, and that's what's important, but the past several games, they have just struggled immensely with runners in scoring position. That was the case last night. Even though they just scored the run, even a sac fly or anything there from Doran would be big to give them some insurance. But leaving guys on the base pass, not ideal, especially when you're struggling to score any kind of runs. Cole grounds that first pitch from Rivera foul. Cole has struck out twice. Last time in the fourth, he ultimately reached on the air by Didabo on the throw down to first to complete the strikeout. Looking for a 2-out knock to send Cheeseman to the plate. So he takes low for ball 1. Here in the bottom of the fifth, in which the Generals have already plated a run on the balk by Rivera. It's now 1-2 on Andrew Cole. And we're likely going to see Evan Wood on the mound in the top of the 6th after Sasso fired 5 strong innings. In line for the win now after his team scored a run in the 5th. 1-2 pitch to Cole. A pop-up to the second baseman, Dreyer. locates it and makes the catch to retire Cole and bring an end to the 5th inning. The Generals able to play a run, though. The leadoff double by Reeder in air, and then a balk gives the Generals their first lead since the 1st inning. They lead 3-2 with a new pitcher coming in the top of the 6th. My fault. Evan Wood takes over here in the 6th, replacing Chris Sasso, who threw 81 pitches, went 5 innings, allowed 3 hits, 2 walks, struck out 4, and 2 earned runs, now in line for the win. After the Generals retook the lead in the bottom of the 5th, Wood will face the heart of this Pilots order 3-4-5, starting with Tyler Stone, who is 0 for 2 today. 1-1, the count is even. Wood is making his first appearance of the summer for the Generals. 5'10", 215-pound right-hander from Atlantic Highlands, New Jersey. Rising sophomore at Alvernia, so he replaces Chris Sasso. Both of them rising sophomores at Alvernia, pitching here today and trying to seal the Game 1 win for the Generals. A weak grounder to short, Patrizi to the backhand, knocks it down, throws to first, but it's well late. Stone hustling down the line to beat it out. He has terrific speed. And that will go as an error against Patrizi. First error of the game for the Generals, who have played some clean baseball as of late defensively. Not an ideal start for Wood, as now he faces Nate Miller, who is 0 for 2. Good speed, as we said, with Stone on at first, as Miller went around. Wood, though, had a terrific campaign for Alvernia. He was 7-2 overall. He made 11 appearances, 11 starts as a freshman for them. A grounder to third. Dorn fields, throws to second for 1. Back to first in time for a double play. The 3rd time Miller has grounded to Dorn today. This time it's a double play. It erases Stone, and now they're 2 away here in the 6th. Dorn has been great at third base today. And now there's 2 away, no one on for Dabo. But Wood threw a lot of innings for Alvernia, 60 2/3 of them. Allowed 17 walks, struck out 46. A total of 21 earned runs, comes out to a 3.12 ERA for Wood. And after that solid campaign, he was named MAC Commonwealth Rookie of the Year. In addition to being a second-team All-MAC Commonwealth selection. As it's 2-1 on to Dabo. It's part of a good year for Alvernia, MAC runner-up. So he replaces Sasso, who was definitely not as effective as Evan Wood was at Alvernia, but Sasso was terrific today. He's been great for the Generals this season. Now a full count on Dabo, 3-2 and 2 away. Full count pitch is slapped foul. Wood said before the game that he feels like he's throwing harder than he ever has before, but a large part of that is probably due to the immense rest he's had since the spring season ended. Dabo puts one in play into shallow center field, where DeClerico comes in to make the catch for out number 3. After an error and then a double play, then a flyout. A good first inning and a good debut for Evan Wood so far. Retires the Pilots in order and preserves the 3-2 Generals lead as we move along to the bottom of the 6th. Nick Tomasetto comes in as a pinch hitter for Dom Patrizzi to begin the bottom of the 6th, as the Generals look to at least score one insurance run. 6 of a 7-inning doubleheader, game 1 of that doubleheader. And we don't see a ton of in-game changes during the doubleheaders from Mike Coryell because you're playing 2 games, so the guys who don't start in game 1 getting the starts in game 2 typically. But winning by just a run, and considering Patrizzi has been really struggling at the plate, you turn to Tomasetto, who hasn't been as hot as he was to open the season, but has still been great as he's hitting .354 with 4 homers and 14 RBIs. Rivera just hitting his 50th pitch, the 51st, skips in there, and it's 2-1 to Tomasetto. So he will take over presumably at shortstop for the top of the 7th. Wonder if you'll see Tomasetto in game 2 as well. 2-1 pitch, a weak grounder to first, where Finley will complete the out himself for the first out here in the bottom half of the 6th. Brings up Nick Ferry, who has been terrific. 2 line drive base hits for him in 2 plate appearances out of the 9th spot in the order. First in the 2nd into right field, and then a line drive base hit to left back in the 4th. And if he can continue that, the Generals will especially take it. Gives him another outfield option and a lefty option as well. You wonder if Ferry moving forward has moved up in the order as well, as he was struggling just to stay above 100, but 2 base hits here today are certainly going to help that effort. Waits on a 1-1 pitch from Rivera. Takes outside, 2-1. Cheeseman, the only other guy who can hit from the left side in the order today in Game 1 for the Generals. Top of the order, and Jake DeClerico waits on deck for the Generals, who lead 3-2, bottom of the 6th. Here at Moody Park, Game 1 of the doubleheader. Corey Miller here with you as Nick Ferry gets a piece of that one to stay alive. Generals have 8 hits through almost 6 innings of play. A run in the first, second, and most recently last inning in the 5th. Ferry smokes that one on the ground, but getting to the high hop is Hager and throwing Ferry out. So Ferry's retired, but another ball that he has scorched. That time, though, results in and out, and there's quickly 2 away here in the 6th.
Number 2, center fielder Jake DeClerico.
And you got to commend the job that Rivera's done in relief. Remember, the starter, Benzinger, only went 2 innings. It's been Rivera since then. Would be tagged for the loss if the Pods can't come back, but has been very solid out of the bullpen, giving the Pilots some length as DeClerico dumps a 2-out base hit into right field. He reaches to continue the inning for Brandon Bucher. Bucher is 0 for 3, 2 strikeouts in some big spots. Looking for a base hit here with 2 away with DeClerico now on at first. He takes off for second. Bucher takes way outside, and Dabo's not even going to try throw down to second, so DeClerico has his 3rd steal of the game. In scoring position for Bucher. Here's Rivera's 1-0 pitch. Make it 2-0. The other thing that Mike Coryell said about Bucher before the game is that he feels like, looks like they actually did appeal that last pitch, the swing to the field umpire, said Bucher went around. As DeClerico takes off for third, Bucher pops it into right, where Turner makes the catch. So Bucher retired. The side is retired here in the 6th. Generals get a runner in scoring position, but can't bring DeClerico home. They're trying to close things out in Game 1 of the doubleheader. Pilots down to their final 3 outs as we move ahead to the top of the 7th. Pilots down to their final 3 outs here in the top of the 7th Evan Wood, the guy making his debut on the mound for the Generals, looking to preserve the lead and pick up a save in relief of Chris Sasso, who would get a win. As we mentioned, both at Alvernia, interestingly enough, is that Sasso and Wood actually roomed together well at Alvernia their freshman year. Trying to combine for a Game 1 win against this Pilot squad, Will Finley. Who has accounted for the only 2 runs today for the Pilots, the 2-run homer. Leads things off. We mentioned how Wood had thrown 60 2/3 innings pitched his freshman year of college, as it's now 2-2 on Finley. That was actually more innings that he threw this year than his entire high school career. A weak grounder to short. Tomaseto's out there now. Charges, throws to first in time to retire Finley. Good start for Wood here in the 7th. 1 away.
Number 4, left fielder.
Brings up Tony Silva, who's 0 for 2. But a lot of that was because, A, you have to factor in the COVID year. But as well, Wood was really exclusively a closer then from Middletown South. School down the shore. As that one is into right field, a base hit for Tony Silva puts the tying run on for the Pilots here in the 7th.
Number 12, the DH.
Clawins steps up to the plate. He's 0 for 2 with 2 strikeouts. So it's really been interesting to see that Wood goes from a guy who was mostly a reliever, short inning guy, didn't throw a ton, to a guy who is only started his freshman year of college and thrown a lot of innings. Part of the reason why he's taken a hiatus in between then and now, but good to see that he's locating well as manager Mike Coryell makes his way out to the mound after that first pitch was cut on and missed from Clawins. General Manager Mike Olshan kind of said that Wood kind of fits into a similar build as Tristan Spalter and Tony St. John, but at the same time, there's probably not enough time left for Wood in the season for him to build up that pitch count and see any time as a starter. In his 2nd inning of relief here, but still an opportunity for Wood to appear as a big game reliever for the Generals down the stretch. Slings one to first, but diving back is Silva. He was Alvernia's number 3 starter, pitched the weekends for them. And fires strike 2 on Clawins after that foul ball. As we said, one of 2 new additions to the staff for the Generals, along with Jesse Spector, you could see in Game 2. Additions to the back end of the bullpen for the Generals. Trying to close things down. Evan Wood just misses inside. Count is even on Clawins. Silva on at first after the 1-out base hit. Pretty good speed there. Pilots trail 3-2 here in the top of the 7th. Final 2 outs for him. Game 1 of the doubleheader. That one is in there for a called strike 3. Clawins down looking. Pilots down to their final out.
Number 22.
It's the 9th hitter, Alex Turner, who has walked and struck out here today. If Wood can retire him, it would give the Generals a Game 1 victory as they check in again on Silva at first. And would move the Generals to 15-7-1, give them their 3rd straight win. 3rd straight win against the Pilots would give them 54 points as well. The Pilots would fall to 7-14 and would have 35 points in the Wolf division. Again, these 2 squads playing a doubleheader here at Moody Park, followed by a Kings Phenoms doubleheader later in the day. Here's the 0-1 to Turner. Make it 0-2. Pilots down to their final strike. It would be cool if Sasso and Wood were able to team up for the win and preserve this Game 1 victory for the Generals. 0-2, 2 away with the runner on at first. Evan Wood kicks and deals. And staying alive is Alex Turner. They will do it again on the 0-2 pitch with 2 away from Wood. The right-hander delivers. Another foul ball from Turner. And Sasso would pick up the win. Wood in 2 innings of relief the save. Both of these teams using 2 pitchers here in Game 1 of the doubleheader. Wood trying to retire Turner. Another 0-2. Just misses, and it's 1-2. Good battle right now with the 9-hole hitter, Alex Turner. Here's Wood's 1-2 pitch. Just got a piece of it. With Silva on at first after the base hit. Woods 1-2 pitch, swing and a miss, strike 3. Gets by Bucher to the backstop. Picks it up, but will not have a play at first. So what could have been out number 3 now gives the Pilots another base runner. It moves the tying run into scoring position. For the top of the order, and Kevin Hager now, who's 0 for 3. Hitless in the series so far. A tough break for Wood and Bucher and the Generals. A wild pitch on a swinging strike 3. Allows a runner to reach. Second time we've seen that happen. And there on Dadabo in the 4th allowed Cole to reach. Wood now facing some traffic on the base pass. That one off of the glove of Bucher. It allows both runners to move into scoring position. So now not only is the tying run 90 feet away, but the go-ahead run is in scoring position as the count is 2-0 on Hager. And this is where the Generals have faced some trouble closing out games, not making it easy on themselves. Hitters count on Hager. Connor Dreyer waits on deck. 2 away, 2 on, 2-0. Make it 3-0. Gavin Kinks is walking out to the bullpen for the Generals, but he's not even started throwing yet. 3-0 to Hager. Taking all the way, and it's 3-1. And this was all set up by the strikeout of Turner, who struck out, but on a wild pitch, he was able to reach. Top of the 7th. Generals 1 out away. The 3-1 to Hager. Misses low, ball 4. The bases are loaded for Connor Dreyer.
Number 1, second baseman, Connor Dreyer.
Not an ideal situation, as you have, in terms of average, the Pilots' second best hitter up now and their best hitter on deck. Right now, though, Dreyer's all that matters with 2 away. He's 0 for 2, and he's also walked. The first pitch from Wood. Good job to get ahead, and it's 0-1 after the foul ball. Trying to close the door on the Generals' win and maintain a perfect debut. Throw 2 shutout innings and pick up the save. Bases loaded. 2 away. 3-2 Generals lead. The 0-1 to Dreyer. A breaking ball misses high, and it's 1-1. One hit for Dreyer in the series so far. That was the first inning of last night's game. Count is even at 1-1. Pitch from Wood is lined down the right field line, but that is heading out of play, foul. And now the Generals 1 strike away. Silva with the 1-out base hits at third. Turner at second reached on the strikeout, then the wild pitch, and most recently Hager walked. He's on at first. Dreyer is the hitter. Bases loaded, 2 away for the Pilots. Trailing by a run here in the 7th. Wood is ready. He fires on 1-2. Outside, and it's 2-2. Dreyer just 5'7", a small strike zone, a patient hitter, a good hitter. Rising sophomore at Boston College facing Wood. His debut performance for the Generals. That pitch just misses, and it's a full count on Connor Dreyer. Nowhere to put him. The runners will also get a head start with 2 away. What does Wood go with here? 3-2, bases loaded. The pitch. A fly ball into right. Down the line. It's a long run for everyone, and it is just foul. Cole was on his horse and probably would not have gotten there, but that ball just making it into foul territory. Certainly didn't look like Cheeseman or McNelly would have had a play. So they'll do it again. Runners return to their bags. The bases are loaded. It's once again a 3-2 pitch to Dreyer with the Generals up by 1 in the 7th. A line drive into center field. It's a base hit. 1 run scores easily. Rounding third and coming to the plate is Turner. He scores as well. A 2 RBI single for Connor Dreyer, and the Pilots take a 4-3 lead.
Number 18, center fielder Tyler Stone.
An absolute backbreaker for the Generals. Remember that at one point this inning, they had 2 away with a runner on at first. But then Turner reaching on the strikeout and the wild pitch. A comebacker right to Wood. This should end the 7th, but it's a brand new ball game. A single with 1 out, then a strikeout and a wild pitch. Then a walk and then a 2 RBI single for Connor Dreyer gives the Pilots a 4-3 lead. They now have an opportunity to close things out and win game 1. We'll be back in the bottom half of the 7th with the Pilots now up 4-3.
For the Generals, the DH, number 17, Chris Reeder.
The Generals all of a sudden down to their final 3 outs after the Pilots played 2 in the top of the 7th to not only tie the game but take a 1-run lead. Rivera now back out there to try and close things out. 3-4-5 for the Generals, starting with Chris Reeder, and these are the guys you one up as you trail by a run in the 7th. Reeder is 2 for 3. Doubled his last time, turned a single into a double on a hard hit ball. Reeder, Cheeseman, McNelly. as the Generals all of a sudden look to avoid a loss after taking a 3-2 lead in the fifth. They were 1 out away. At one point, multiple points, a strike away from winning the game. But the struggle for them lately, in addition to the offense, and this dates back past the offensive struggles, has been closing out games. They almost were unable to do it against this Pilot squad last night when they led by 4 runs. Bullpen gave 2 back, and the Pilots threatened to get even more back. 2-1 here to Reeder. A line shot into center field. It gets down, a leadoff base hit. And how big has Chris Reeder been today? He's 3 for 4. Just what the Generals needed, and Mike Coryell wastes no time. Jogging out to pinch run for Reeder is Christian Moat.
Pinch running for the Generals.
So they get some speed on the base pass, the tie and run at first. Christian Moat has swiped 2 bags this summer. And now here's Cheeseman, who is 2 for 3. He's reached base all 3 times, 2 singles and an error. It would just be a tough loss to swallow if the Generals can't come and tie this game up and ultimately win it. If there's any consolation, is that last night it was a 4-run lead. Again, they didn't blow it. They held on to a 4-2 win. At least today was only a 1-run lead. But again, it's a tough break because you had 2 away as Cheeseman takes outside, and you ultimately struck out Alex Turner for what would have been the 3rd out, but on a wild pitch, he reached to keep the inning going. That's the probably toughest part about it. And then the bases were loaded for Connor Dreyer as Moat dives back safely. And he's one of the last guys you want to face. And with a 3-2 count, with no one to put him, with the bases loaded, you knew that Wood was going to be aggressive, as once again, Moat's back safely. And Dreyer, just too good of a hitter. Eventually had seen enough pitches, not trying to do too much, a 2 RBI single into center field. Cheeseman takes that one upstairs. It's 2-1. If the Generals were to tie this game, these 2 teams would be able to play 2 more innings. Could play 9 complete innings before the game would be called. And if it was still tied at this point, it would result that way. As it's now 2-2 on Cheeseman. Then the question becomes, how does that impact the bullpens if this game heads to extra innings? The Generals, without a doubt, have extra pitchers in this situation if they needed them. But it would have been a much more ideal situation if they'd only burned 2 of them heading to Game 2 of the doubleheader. 2-2 to Cheeseman. A grounder to second. Could be 2. Dreyer has some difficulties. It's under his legs into center field. Moat digging for 3. He gets there. Cheeseman reaches on the air. Runners on the corners. No one away for the Generals. That, without a doubt, could have been a double play and brought up a situation where the Generals would have had no one on with 2 away, would have been down to their final out. As a few changes for them now. Logan Moat jogs into pinch run for Cheeseman. He represents the winning run. And pinch hitting for McNelly, who's 0 for 3, is Greg Cristino. And so rare do you see a player of Dreyer's caliber make a mistake like that. There goes Logan Moat. The throw will come down to 3rd. But Christian Moat is back there easily. We've seen that double steal utilized by the Generals a few times. Handled much better by Didabo. But now the winning run is in scoring position for Greg Cristino, the pinch hitter for the Generals. Ahead in the count, 2-0. Cristino, 1 for 3 with an RBI last night. He's been good the past few games. Yeah. 2-0 pitch. A fly ball into center field. Christian Moat back to tag. The catch is made by Stone in center. Moat will tag up and score from third. The throw comes there as tagging up 90 feet is Logan Moat. And the winning run is 90 feet away for the Generals. They've just tied the game up at 4. Great job by Cristino, not trying to do too much. That fly ball deep enough to not only score the run, but now move Logan Moat 90 feet away as Danny Cyprian will pinch hit for Mike Dorn. These are probably guys that the Generals would have trotted out there in Game 2. Danny Cyprian has struggled as of late. Keep in mind, he's a switch hitter, but he's hitting right-handed against the right-handed pitcher. 0-1 pitch. A pop-up into foul territory, and it makes the seats. And that's what makes this an interesting move. Cyprian has so much talent, but he has really struggled. He's hitting just .259 now. Was well in the 300s earlier in the season. So much so that even against a right-handed pitcher, he's hitting from the right side. 0-2, the winning run 90 feet away. Infield is in. The pitch is in there for a called strike 3. Rivera took care of a key man there, and now there's 2 away. Here is the right fielder, Andrew Cole. He's 0 for 3 today. Generals have been waiting for that one really big hit from Cole this season. The game is now tied up at 4 here in the 7th. Cole swings, blasts that one into left field. Silva hustling back, looking up, goodbye! Andrew Cole, a walk-off 2-run bomb here in the 7th, and the Generals come back. They snatch victory from the jaws of defeat and win this one 6-4 here in the 7th. Right on cue. Cole, who had been looking for that big hit all summer long, had yet to tally a round tripper. His first homer of the season couldn't come at a better time. After giving 2 runs up in the top of the 7th to give the Pilots the lead, the Generals score 3 here in the 7th.
130.
A walk-off homer by Andrew Cole gives the Generals a 6-4 win. Their 3rd straight victory. They improved to 15-7-1, 53 points in the Wolf division. Huge momentum boost for them as we look ahead to Game 2 now. That'll be upcoming in about 25 minutes, a 1:30 start time. Once again, the Generals come back and win this one in walk-off fashion. Andrew Cole, the walk-off 2-run bomb, gives the Generals a 6-4 Game 1 victory. We will see you in Game 2 as once again the Generals take on the Pilots here at Moody Park.